Hey YouTube family, it's Jasmine with Journey with Jazz, and I was just over here greasing my scalp and twisting my hair down. And I was giving myself some self-talk. And as I'm talking to myself, I was like, you know what? This is a really good conversation to spread to the young ladies who have pure hearts, who love, and who oftentimes give that love to the wrong people. And in return, they spend lots of time rebuilding their confidence, or oftentimes growing a cold heart. So this message is for you because yesterday a situation occurred and I was sitting here giving myself props because I know an older version of myself would have went a different direction. And for me, this represents huge growth and just a huge different belief in myself and the way that I feel about myself. Because I used to place my value in my partner's hands. I used to place my worth in their hands because I didn't know what my worth or value was. It wasn't something that I was ever taught about growing up. And I grew up in a very abusive household where I learned the skill set of people pleasing in order to get what I needed. And that was encompassed with ignoring my own feelings, whether it was sadness or anger, displeasure, whatever it is. I was not allowed to voice my opinion. And when I did, I was ridiculed for it. Like, I got in trouble for it, which led me as an adult to literally cling to people that would give me like 1% of attention, because I wasn't getting 0.5% of attention elsewhere. So if you were giving me 1%, I was just running towards you with open arms, with such a pure heart, with nothing but love to give, pure intentions, loyalty, all of these great skill sets that I was running to these people too. And another sad part is that they could see the light that I had. I didn't know I had the light. So I was just entertaining all of these dark people. And they were taking what I was given happily. And then when I realized that I would have requests or have needs that wanted to be met, or would become depleted, it of course became an issue because they were in my life to meet my needs. They were in my life so I can meet theirs. So I say this to say to my lover girls out there, the cheat code to finding a love that is reciprocal and that is deserving of you, because you are a star, you are a bright star, is to first not fear being alone. You cannot fear being alone. I experienced that. And that was one of the main reasons I would hold on to people, because I feared I had issues with abandonment. And then I also feared this subconscious thought that if we did part ways, then it was my fault. And I just couldn't bear it being my fault. So I would stick around and try all of these different things. I already didn't have standards. So the things that I did feel like I needed, it's okay, I don't even need that. I just want you. Time and time again over the years, that's what would occur. But I could not bear with the thought that if they left, it would be all because of me and it would be my fault. And so I would do whatever I thought I needed to do to save it. And of course, I could never save it, right? Because then you end up acting out of desperation. Who wants a desperate girl with no standards? It works out for a bit, but then it gets annoying, okay? So you cannot fear being alone. You need to understand what peace feels like in solitude. And for me, I ended up, through my solitude years, by force, of course, because the people that I begged to be with and set the bar in hell were no longer around. And I remember crying so much because I was lonely and I was alone and I didn't know what to do. But out of that came my greatest blessing, because now I find joy in solitude and I am at peace in solitude. So now this peace is my baseline for how to operate in the world. So when I do meet someone and they throw that piece off, I notice it immediately. Okay? So number one, don't fear being alone and don't fear solitude. There's great peace there and you can hear God in solitude. Number two, know and learn your worth and your value. A lot of people say this, but they don't really give instructions on how to do that. A way to learn what your worth and value is for one, we all have worth and value. And as a woman in general, you can birth children. As a woman in general, you love, you have empathy, you nurture, you protect, you love, you cherish. You could take something and make it tenfold. But also, you have particular attributes to yourself. And I'm sure that people have told you about them, right? When you are around people, what is some of the compliments that you get? What are some of the things that people love about you? What are the things that you love about yourself? What do you bring to people's lives? Because you're not just the body. What do you bring to people's lives? What is that light and that joy that you bring to people's lives? That is a part of your worth and value. And then ask yourself, does someone who does not reciprocate the energy deserve your worth and value? Does someone who will not meet your standards deserve your worth and your value? Do they deserve to have you in their life? Another thing, you have to develop standards and boundaries. I remember when I first started hearing about standards and boundaries, literally a couple of years ago, like 4 or 5 years ago, like back in 2020. And I remember hearing the term and feeling kind of upset about it because I really just wanted to flow in love in my likeness. So standards and boundaries for me felt like restriction, and it felt like having a wall up, and it felt like games because I didn't want to be patient. And that's another thing, patience. I didn't want to have to wait to be myself or give all that I had to offer. Like, what do you mean they have to show up to the plate? What do you mean they have to meet my standards first? Like, I swear to you, that was my mindset. Like, no, I just want to be me and I just want to love. But throughout time, I've learned it's to keep me safe. It has nothing to do with the other person. It's to keep me safe. It's to keep my energy safe. It's to not deplete myself. And it's a form of self-love, to be honest. And I'll do another video on boundaries and standards to go a bit deeper. But boundaries, you learn your boundaries. Well, I've learned my boundaries through experience. So there have been situations I've been in that I didn't like. And from those situations, I've learned what makes me uncomfortable. If something makes me uncomfortable, that then becomes a boundary. For example, sex too soon. So a boundary for me would be like, not being super touchy, not cuddling maybe, or something along those lines before a certain time. And now, like currently this chocha is put up until marriage, my wedding night. So a boundary for me would be no sex, no sexual talk. And if someone was to cross that boundary, that's it. Or if they do, maybe there's a warning, like maybe they weren't aware of it. And then, but yeah, if they do it again, intentionally, with knowing what the boundary is, what are we doing? Because if I were to cross that line, now I'm upset with myself. Now I feel a certain kind of way. And that's not fair to me, right? So boundaries are in place to keep us sane, keep us safe, and keep us in healthy dynamics where we flourish. In a standard, I've learned my standards based on experience again. I know what I like and I don't like. Like, for instance, I love flowers. So if I'm dealing with a gentleman who doesn't believe in buying flowers or just isn't romantic, that's a standard for me to where I flourish. And if they don't meet that standard, that's not someone that I can deal with. And if I were to break that standard for someone, I would be unhappy in that situation. So, figure out your standards and boundaries, and implement them. And at first, it does feel scary because you may be afraid of that person leaving, or you still have the tendency to people please and want to make the other person happy. My question to you is, don't you deserve to be happy? Don't you deserve to be happy, girl? Do you or do you not? It's time that you put you first instead of putting others before you. And all of these things may take time to learn. You may listen to this and you may not get it right away. That's okay. For me, it's taken years, and it's taken, I call it practice. Like, you'll meet people, you start to develop self-awareness, and people kind of approach you differently. But one thing with men, it's kind of like they're all the same in terms of how they act with certain things, and it's up to us to repel certain kinds of men with our standards and boundaries, okay? So, I can go on and on about this topic, but just wanted to put this out there. And this is in reference to my cruise bay, actually, which cruise bays seem to be becoming popular now. But I had my first cruise bay in 2019 when I went on my first cruise. I did my second cruise of March of 2024 for my birthday. It was a solo cruise, and I met someone. And it was my first time dealing with someone in about 2 years, because I intentionally just stopped dating. I wanted to work on my worth and my value, figure out my standards and boundaries, and really get to a place where I felt the ick with certain kind of behaviors, and I just didn't allow it. And so, to actually tell you the details of how this YouTube video came about, I am going to do a second video all about the cruise bay that I had. So I'm going to tell you the story, and then I'm going to go back through the story and point out the red flags that I was very aware of, and I continue to move forward with it in hopes that y'all can learn from my real life mistakes, okay? And I really won't call it a mistake. It's been a learning lesson. I did not get hurt from it. I'm not crying tears of sadness. My life has not depleted, because within the situation, I am a newer version of myself, so I was able to prevent things from going too far. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I want from you. Like, y'all don't need to be going through it. If these people choose to depart from your life, take it as a blessing from God that they are removing themselves and that your standards and boundaries are repelling them. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you. If you learned anything, or if there was some brain candy in here for you, comment below. Y'all gotta excuse me, it's allergy season, okay? Love you guys, and I'll see you in my next video.